GSS presents Punch Drunk, a fabulous podcast. I just added that last part. I'm your host, Courtney Perna, here with one of my favorite guests, CEO and founder Armando Bareno, CEO and founder of GSS. And we're not even drinking this time. Normally we have cocktails.
Where's the alcohol? I guess that's my fault.
We're tired today. CEO and founder of GSS and creator of Best in Boxing.
Yes.
And now the person who's probably going to fire me because I just messed up this whole intro. But
this is perfect.
Armando Bareno. Casual. I know, it's very casual and very sober right now. Like I said, what happened to the cocktails? This is called Punch Drunk.
That's my fault, I guess.
Punch Drunk for a reason.
It all
Everything is your fault.
And
it is also your fault that we have a ton of really great content, really great fights coming up for Best in Boxing. Not only Best in Boxing, but also we are working now with some basketball, so we will get to that
for the basketball
in just
heads
a little
out
bit.
There, mix that in.
I know. So let's first talk about what's coming up in Best in Boxing. We are doing pay-per-views now, which is very exciting and, of course, necessary with COVID-19. So September 5th.
September 5th, Angel Ramos is the main guy on the card. And he is one of, as far as fighters go, he's been on the show before. He fought Dwayne Beeman. And he is an exciting super flyweight. And he is going to put on a show. This is the first time he has had a promoter behind him, if you can believe that. So he's...
I know, I could not believe that when you told me. He's literally never been able to really dedicate himself to fighting. He didn't have the backing of a promoter.
Yeah, could you imagine just all this talent and nobody supporting you at all? So he's trained himself. He's had trainers over the years, but he's just no support system, right? So he steps into fights. He's fought, current world champions on 2 weeks' notice. And he's 24-1-2. So he's only lost one fight, and this is without training. So now he signed with Alpha Promotions out of Tijuana, and this is his first full training camp where he's actually a boxer. And so just being a boxer, full time.
It's not his side hustle anymore.
No, and I'll say it right here, and people can call me out later if I'm wrong, but I don't believe I'm gonna be wrong. He will be world champion.
Really?
He is good. He's super talented, and he's never had what he has now. So I believe he's going to, within 3-4 fights, he will be fighting for a world title. And to me, he's up there. I can see him in the ring with Estrada, and being extremely competitive and beat Estrada. Some people may say I'm crazy, but I believe, from what I've seen him in the ring, and just his whole attitude and his demeanor, the kid has amazing talent, and now that he's got a promoter behind him, so he's one half of our main event.
Well, and he's his name is Angel, but his nickname is El Diablito, the little devil.
Little devil, and he fights like it.
Yeah, I've interviewed him, so he seems like an angel outside the ring. But man, you see that kid inside the ring, and it's definitely something.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is, this is behind the scenes stuff, but he wasn't sure about fighting Dwayne Beeman. He didn't want to fight him because he didn't prep. He had 2 weeks to prepare for that fight, and so they were pushing him to get in the ring. He just didn't. He didn't have the prep time that he wanted, but he took the fight. He's definitely not a cherry picker. He got in there, and you know what? He gave Dwayne all that he could handle.
It was such a good fight.
A really good fight. These guys went back and forth, and it was ended in a draw. I would love to see these guys rematch and see where they're at, because I feel like Angel is on the up, and it could be, and it's anybody's fight again if he fights Beeman. So if Dwayne, you're watching this, I want to put you. I want to put you up against Angel Ramos again.
The rematch.
Because I believe that it's a fan-friendly fight. The fans would love the fight.
So who is Angel Ramos fighting in the main event on September 5th?
Jorge Villalobos.
Okay.
Now, Jorge Villalobos is another all-action fighter. He has a lot of fights on his record. He's not as accomplished in terms of the caliber of fighters that Angel has fought, but he's every bit of the perfect guy for Angel, for the fans. I mean, if you ever see the little guys fight, everyone knows that these guys throw hundreds of punches. They're extremely fast. They go at each other nonstop. The smaller weights to me are always more exciting. So anything below 147 is all action to me. So I feel like, you are going to be completely satisfied with buying a pay-per-view with these two guys as the main event. Not even talking about the rest of the card, which is one of the things I love about working with Toscano Promotions is they're boxing fans first,
right?
And so they want to do fights that
they want to see.
And
we want to see.
Exactly. So when you look at the records on paper, they're pretty close to even. And so every single time they've done a card, they never disappoint. Their matchmaking is spot on. And so, we make the claim that this is probably one of the most exciting fight cards of the year. So in its entirety, from this opening free fights that we're going to do on Before the Bell to the pay-per-view fights, it's all action fights all the way through the card.
And you're saying that just in boxing in general, not even like a best in boxing card. Yeah. Like it's one of the best cards you're going to see probably all year.
100%. I mean, I'll put this card up against Top Ranks cards. I'll put it up against Golden Boys cards. I'll put it up against Matchrooms cards. Toscano is serious about putting on great fights, period. And like I said, they're fans first, and they look at fights like, is this an entertaining fight? If it's not, they don't do it.
Did Toscano do Gonzalez versus Pinto last time on June 26th? That fight, oh my gosh, was great. Yeah. And we've got Giovannie Gonzalez coming back for the pay-per-view on September 5th.
Yeah, Gio's Gio's in the next phase of his career. He's signed with Toscano. Pinto was his first fight with Toscano. It didn't work out the way he wanted. I felt he won the fight.
Yeah.
But again, the judges did what they did, and so officially he didn't. But for him, mentally, he looked at the fight because he told me that he wasn't sure if he wanted to continue boxing, but then he watched the fight and he goes, he genuinely believes he won the fight after watching it multiple times. Yeah. So Gio's confidence is there. He's an exciting action fighter. Again, they signed Gio because he's an action fighter. He's a come-forward fighter. Yeah. They're working on him. He's in shape. All these fighters, as they come back out of COVID isolation, they're having to get back in shape. I mean, there's fighters, big fighters, I won't name any names, that didn't make weight and lost their belts on the scale because they're coming out of COVID. So Gio came out of COVID. It was a tough camp for him. I still felt he won the fight. But coming into this camp, he's in shape.
Yeah.
And so that's half the battle if you come into camp in shape. So he's in shape. I expect him to look extremely, even better than he did last time. So it's going to be an exciting fight for him.
He's going up against Brandon Cortez as well. And, he has a lot of tough competition, though. Giovannie doesn't back down. I know that his 4 fights, I think the last 4 fights, they've been 1 loss.
Including this
Cortez.
one, including Cortez.
Only 1 loss for all of those 4 dudes.
Yeah, exactly. So he's been matched up tough. I mean, but this is what, in my opinion, this is what you do when you have guys that you want to see what they're made of. And you have to invest a lot of money in a fighter. Yeah. So why wait until they're 20, 30 fights in before you actually take a punch. Exactly. Because some of these records you see, especially coming out of South America, you'll see guys that are 31-0, and they've never really fought anybody. But Gio is not. He's battle tested. He is definitely someone who can step up to a higher level and fight a top rank fighter or fight a Golden Boy fighter. He's getting there. And so anything he does, anytime he steps in the ring, it's gonna be an all-action fight.
Yeah. I like that. And Wade Jones III on September 5th too.
Yeah, Wade is a fun. I can't wait for the public to get to know Wade. I mean, he's already got a big fan base already, and he's only 4-0. He's just such a charismatic, loving, likable dude, and you wouldn't expect that if you've never seen him fight, how he fights. He's super aggressive. He is a boxer. He can box, but he loves to go toe to toe. It's just can't help yourself, right? If that's what you like to do, that's what you. So he finally his last two, he's 4-0. His first two fights were first round knockouts. He finally got into the second and third and fourth round in his third fight, and now he finished and did another 4 rounds. So it's good. It's good training. He was matched up tough. I mean, he threw everything and the kitchen sink at his opponent, and the guy just kept on coming. And those are the type of fights that help develop fighters of where he's at in his career. So he's young, he's hungry, he's confident, he's likable. I mean, he has everything going for him. And he's got Toscano, who's not going to baby him. They're going to put him in tough fights. They're going to let him learn on the job early so that when he gets to the upper levels, he'll be prepared.
And his first 2 fights, first round knockouts. Third and fourth fight went the distance. So he's had it both ways.
He's had it both ways. So
and then stopped it early.
We'll see what he does this time.
And he's fighting Francisco Parra this time, September 5th.
Yes, he is. And Francisco, honestly, I don't know much about him. He was just matched up. He's probably one of these guys that has no video footage of him at all. He's 1-1. His record doesn't indicate much of anything because he's just starting out. So we'll see. But I do know this: when it comes to Toscano, just like Giovannie versus Pinto, Pinto had only 5 fights, and Giovannie had what?
That was such a good fight.
I know, but that's the thing is that's what good matchmaking is about. It's not about the record. And at this stage of the game when these guys are at, it's about putting them in there with guys who are going to help develop them. Right? So I'm sure Jorge Toscano and his team have picked somebody. I mean, I know that they were going around and around trying to find him the right opponent, so they finally did. So it'll be a good fight no matter what. And
that is from the fight capital of Mexico, Tijuana. But I would argue it's the fight capital of the world.
I mean, in the United States, we like to claim Madison Square Garden or Las Vegas, but in terms of the amount of fights that happen, Mexico has fights, or Tijuana has so many fights. I mean, you can't even keep up in the United States how many fights they have in Tijuana on a regular basis. I mean, you're talking 3-4 fights a weekend sometimes. So it is the fight capital when it comes to the amount of fights that are down there.
So that is a really good card, September 5th for that pay-per-view. It's a really good card, but I have a bone to pick with you.
Okay.
I did not know that the September 19th fights are going to be from the beach in Rosarito, Mexico. Gorgeous Pacific Ocean, that salty air, the sunshine, and you're just putting dudes in a ring together and they're just going to go at it.
Yeah. I love it.
On the beach.
And I'm going to eat
I'm going to be here.
I'm going to get some lobster afterwards.
In Las Vegas. Not on the beach. I'm glad you're laughing.
I love it. I will get you down there sometime. At some point, because I think we're going to be doing this for the foreseeable future out of Rosarito because of the whole COVID thing, right? So we can't have crowds,
right?
So we're doing it in an open air. Keep the ventilation, obviously. We get that nice sea breeze coming through. And it's really cool. They set up a ring right there on the beach, right next to the sand. It's at a venue called Papas and Beer. I'm sure there's been plenty of Americans
even better
who've gone down there on spring break.
Come on.
So it's literally sitting right outside on the patio right there, overlooking the ocean. So
wow, that's awesome.
It'll be cool.
It'll be very cool. And again, I will be broadcasting live here from Las Vegas for Best in Boxing's Before the Bell. That is the pre-show, and that's starting at 6 p.m.
No, 3 p.m. September 19th. September 19th.
See,
September 5th. September 5th is a typical start time.
6
p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. But because we're doing it on the beach.
Yeah, you need that sunlight.
Yeah, we need. No, it's just better to.
You guys just want to be able to go out afterwards to Papas and Beer.
Yeah, we'll finish before the sun.
Come on.
No, but check this out. Kevin Torres. So we have 2 knockout artists. They're both like 75. Like I think Kevin is like 77%.
Kevin is 77.78 knockout percentage, and his opponent.
Cuevas is he's 73.
Just over 73%.
So they're both one-punch knockout artists. So it's going to be fun. But at the same time, the sun is going to be setting as they're fighting. So we'll have a nice backdrop with the ocean in the background, sun setting, and these guys will be fighting. So it'll be cool. It's something different. So that starts at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. It'll be great for the people on the East Coast. They can watch an early early fights. We will be done by before the sun goes down, about 7:30.
Great, and then you'll head over to Papa some beer
Yeah.
without me. Fabulous. Well, the knockout kings. We just mentioned Kevin Torres and Cuevas. It's maybe the first time that each of them has been tested against someone with one punch power like they have.
Yeah.
So I know I spoke with Kevin Torres. I didn't speak with his opponent, but that definitely has to change the way you go into camp, or at least go into the ring, knowing that you have to be even more defensive, I guess, than normal.
Yeah, Kevin has always been a work in progress since he turned pro, and what I mean by that is that he didn't have this illustrious amateur career.
In a short amateur
yeah,
career,
I think it was
right?
like maybe 50 fights. So he's learning on the job, and I've watched him. I mean, I've seen him from the third fight of his career till now. He's fought. This will be his 11th time on Best in Boxing. So I've had
only one off the record.
Yeah, Mario Ramirez, who will also fight on the card. He's got
he's got 12.
He's got 12, and he'll have 13. So he's got to catch him. But all that being said, Kevin has been a work in progress, and he has been developing a little at a time. He's under the guidance of Carlos Bergam out of House of Boxing in San Diego. Good gym, good trainer, and he's been learning. And realistically, I've been watching the change in him especially over the past two fights. I don't know what it is. I don't know what they're doing, but over the past couple fights, his entire style is developing. I'm starting to see it. So a lot of times, most boxing fans, they just get to see the latter stages of a career when the guys hit the big time. They don't get to see the developmental stages. So it's really fun to see the developmental stages. So I've watched him change, and like I said, the last two fights, he's moving more. His head movement's better.
Yeah.
I think this fight is at the right time for him. One, he's going up against a guy that can knock him out in one punch.
Right.
I have seen Kevin take shots
and get knocked down.
But I've seen him take shots in all of his fights as he's learning his defense. And I think his chin. He has a good chin. I've seen guys take shots that he's taken.
I think he just has a good face in general. I mean, he's such a good-looking dude. People were comparing him to like Oscar De La Hoya. When I interviewed him, we talked about Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya, but then the Diamond Boy was like
step up.
Yeah, step up from gold because diamonds. It's just fun. He's a charismatic dude. You can't help but root for him. But he is up against Jose Cuevas, and it's going to be the knockout king.
Yeah, Jose comes out of a good gym down in Mexico. He's got good. He's a young fighter learning on the job, but he's got good people around him. So he's not coming in there to lay down. He's coming in there to knock Kevin's head off. So I mean, these guys, Kevin. His ring intelligence has really been developing. I feel like when you interviewed him and he was talking about the fact that he is going to use his defense more. I think you're going to see a lot more of that. I feel like the first round they're going to feel each other out, because both of them know they can knock each other out. First round they'll feel each other out, and once we hit the second round, you're going to start seeing him swinging.
Gotcha.
And Kevin, I don't know Jose's defensive style, but I know Kevin's has been really improvement. His footwork has taken leaps and bounds steps. So it's the right time to put him up against this kid and see what he's got.
And again, that's happening on September 19th. We've got co-promoters. We have Boris Teca and we have Grito de Guerrera putting together these fights. And we also have Ty Price. Now, for me, I feel like you can't help but root for the guy. I mean, he's an ex-Marine. He did 3 tours of duty. Yeah. He's an older guy, 29. It was his birthday recently. But he's just such a nice dude that you can't help but root for him. But, he has a tough fight coming up too. He's actually going to be on the prelims during my show.
Yeah, he'll be free.
Before the bell.
He'll be free. One of the free fights. He's 4-0. He's a work in progress, just like all fighters at this stage. But he does have the Marine boxing team experience.
Well, and the mentality of a Marine.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, he's tough guy to go through what he has gone through mentally and to come out the other end. So you're not going to break him mentally in the ring.
No.
So, and he is just one of these guys that he's determined. And when you have the Marine mentality, discipline, and he's determined, And he has Vince Barra, who's, to me,
Yes.
one of the best young trainers in the game right now, as his trainer. You know, I can see him making some noise and getting up to world title level, definitely.
Yeah. And I briefly mentioned in a different podcast about Manuel Rojas. A lot of people want to fight twice in 1 year. He's actually fighting twice in a month, or like 3 weeks. That's a lot of confidence, I think, from his promoters. He's with Southpaw Promotions.
No, he's under Southpaw Promotions is the first fight that he's doing on
August 29th.
August 29th, yeah.
Okay.
And so I called up Saul as soon as I saw his post on social media that he was
Saul Rios.
Saul Rios.
He's from Boyateca.
When Manuel posted that he was fighting the 29th, I was like, okay, this is, that's a 3-week span between the 29th and the 19th. So I called up Saul. I was like, is this true?
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't know about that. So immediately gets on the phone, calls Vince, checking on that. And it's true. He's going to fight on the 29th on the East Coast. And he has all the confidence in the world that he's going to come out of that unscathed and come down to Mexico and fight 3 weeks later. So
we literally asked him that recently, you know, and I think you asked him that. You were like, dude, if you get cut, if you get dropped, like, you're not going to be able to come back. And he was like, I think I'll be fine. I'm going to walk out of there without a scratch on me. And he's very confident. So you got to give him that. But that's going to be a great fight as well. He is versus Alberto Garcia.
Yeah. And then we also have Mikey Garcia and Garcia Promotions has B-Fly Brennan Macias. Okay. And he has risen to fame within the boxing game because of Eli Cyback, a YouTuber. Yes. And he's always in camp with Mikey and Robert Garcia. And so B-Fly will be on that card. They just told me about it. He was just added to the card a couple days ago. So B-Fly, huge following. I'm really glad that he's on the card. So Will said he's going to match him up tough. They want to test him. Yeah. And so and also because it's a pay-per-view. Look, it's just one of these things where everybody's stepping up their game. Yes. When we were delivering the fights on YouTube on Fight Hub for free, which we are still doing the prelims on Fight Hub, and then we're doing a week later. We're airing the fights on Fight Hub again. Okay. But it was one of those things where we wanted to put on great fights, but it was always we're delivering this for free. We're still developing fighters, but everyone has stepped up their game on the promoter side, on our side, on the fighter side. Everyone knows that, hey, we are charging people for these fights, right? Yeah. And so we need to make sure that we have great matchups because we don't want to be, I'm not going to name names, but some of the other promoters have been watching some of these fights and I'm just like, how are they even doing it? Yeah. Like, they're just
This garbage. Is not entertaining in sports. Bottom line should be entertaining, right?
And so that's what we've been working on. I mean, I've talked to Saul, I talked to Caesar, I talked to Jorge. I mean, these different promoters, and it's like, look, this was part of the discussion from the get-go. It's like, look, no matter what, we have to put on a great pay-per-view because we want. It's my brand, it's their brand, and we want people to come back and know, oh shit,
It's all right, it's online. You can say that. It's online, you can say that.
I don't want to.
Gosh, and again, we're sober. What is this?
Well, you know what, I don't like, I'm a fan of boxing first, and I do not like watching garbage fights.
No,
when you just
does.
know that the guy that he's up against is he doesn't train. Yeah. He comes in, you could tell they're pudgy. They get their crap kicked out of them.
Yeah, that's sugarcoating some resumes.
It's not fun. And don't get me wrong, we've had fights like that on our card because again, it's developmental. We're down there in Mexico. You have managers paying for their fighters to get wins. Yes. And it's just a reality of the sport. I don't like it. The fans don't like it. The fighters don't like it because
you still want to look good.
Well, I'll take this as an example. Kevin Otley, he has fought on Best in Boxing 4 times. I think 4 times. Every single time, he is pissed off afterwards and he's the nicest guy because he's like, dude, I wanted a better fighter.
Yeah.
And you know, you can look at the record sometimes and you're like, okay, that's cool. But then you see the fight and then you're like, okay, what? How did this guy get as many wins? He shouldn't be in there.
Right.
And so I know what it's like for the fighters. There are a lot of fighters at a higher level that are making millions of dollars, and cherry picking is a little easier because they sleep a little better with you know, some good money in their pocket. Well, these guys, they're not making millions. They're not even making thousands. You know? And so they're in there to build their brand.
Yeah, they're in there because they're hungry.
They don't want crappy fights. They want to be up there against a guy that is going to push them and challenge them so they can get to the higher levels.
That's right.
So not only do the fighters want it, the fans want it, I want it, the promoters want it, and we're working on doing that going forward because this new reality, fans can't go to the venue.
Yeah.
And so we have to deliver it in a way that produces financially for the promoters so that they can continue to pay the fighters so that they can continue, so that we can move forward.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, is that obviously with COVID-19, the world is different, particularly in sports, particularly in combat sports. But I think boxing and other combat sports have really done a great job of pivoting and keeping everything going. I mean, if you don't have an audience to fight for, that used to be your bottom line. But now with global sports streaming, Best in Boxing, and the fact that you're doing this pay-per-view, it's not only a great way, it's the only way right now, and it's the new reality.
Yeah, and that's something that I really want, I think fans understand, but I really want fans to understand that it's like, look, we want to be able to deliver great fights on a regular basis, and we want as many people to see them as possible.
Yes.
And you know, Giovannie Gonzalez was talking about how he's got fans in England.
Yeah.
And he's never been to England, he's never fought in England, but people see him online and they watch him and he's got a fan base, right? And that's what this is about. I've always said from the get-go that all of these fighters deserve a platform to shine on.
Yes.
And so that, to me, that means give it to as many people as possible can watch it.
Right.
Right? And I want the same thing for the pay-per-view. I want as many people as possible to watch it. And I want fans to understand, look, if we don't do this, if we don't charge pay-per-view, this system of club promoters that are developing fighters goes away.
Yeah.
It's just a reality of the economy.
Yeah.
If the promoters cannot make money, they cannot pay the fighters.
Yes.
And then the fighters can't fight.
It's a business.
It's a business. And so we are asking, I'm asking fans to please tune in, watch these fights. These are good fights. These are entertaining fights. You know, get the friends, get the family, sit down for $5.99, $9.99.
Yeah.
You know, you can't beat it for a night, for 3-4 hours of entertainment.
Yeah.
You can't beat it. And so if we're putting great fights together and it's at a reasonable price.
Yes, very, very reasonable.
Very reasonable price. I mean, you can't even go to the movies. I mean, you can't go to the movies anyways, but if you could, it's cheaper than a movie.
Yeah.
And it's something that you can sit back with your family and friends, you know, turn the TV on the patio, barbecue it up, and watch these fights, and know that it's going to something good. It's going to support these fighters.
Right.
You know, the
who
deal
someday might be those $1 million fighters. You know, they're in the developmental stages right now, but we've said from the beginning, these are really good, entertaining fights. So you might not know his name yet, but maybe you will. And it's kind of fun to get in on the ground floor, so to speak, and follow this fighter through the developmental stages, especially when it's so entertaining. And if you take away this farming system, you know, you and I were talking a little bit off camera that, you know, NFL has college, you know, and the baseball has the minor leagues. Like, this is boxing's
it's the farm system.
Minor leagues.
And
so if this goes away, the big leagues really can't survive. When someone retires, who are you going to replace them with if this isn't happening? So this is your chance to really support. It's not about GSS making money. I mean, of course, we do make money a little bit, but it's really about saving the system and saving the sport.
Money being the given. I mean, every business wants to make money.
Right.
That's the given. But outside of that, it's really about being able to sustain the sport of boxing.
Yes.
And look, the amateurs are not fighting at all, right? There's no amateur events going.
Right.
And so the only farm system you have, so the Olympics was delayed.
Yeah.
And I know that I've talked to some amateur fighters who've gone pro because they don't want to wait another year.
Yeah.
And so the amateur system is right now stagnant because it just can't. They won't do events. And then you look at what we have. So over the next couple years, this farm system is going to be integral to boxing going forward, because
the whole sport.
Yeah, because these guys are developing. Whereas the amateurs, they're kind of sitting. I mean, they're probably training in the ring, or in the gyms.
But that is way different than actually fighting.
That doesn't prepare them, and unfortunately, there's going to be a gap. So you look at our fighters that fight on our cards. Within the next 2, 3, 4 years, these guys are going to be stepping up, getting fights on top with Top Rank, Golden Boy, and Matchroom. I mean, we've already had plenty of fighters who've started their career with Best in Boxing and have moved on, have gotten signed to Top Rank, have gotten signed to Golden Boy, have fought on Matchroom. So
fought on ESPN,
fought on ESPN, Fox Sports, and so that is what we're about. We're about feeding these fighters, not only building their fan base. So when they get to the upper level. They already have a base.
Yeah.
Across the globe. Across the globe.
Yeah, not just in their region of family and friends.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everywhere.
I mean, I'll go back to Gio's example, because he was talking about how he was in the store.
Yeah. And some dude came up to him, like a big dude, 6'3", kind of sketchy looking dude, and he was like, oh, God.
Yeah, he didn't know whether this guy was going to approach him and kick his butt or try to kick his butt.
Yeah.
But it was a fan.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy became a fan of Gio's from watching him on Best in Boxing.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, that makes me smile bigger than anything, because it's like, that's why I'm doing this.
I know. I don't remember which other fighter it was, but they were at the barbershop, and someone next to him was like, "Hey, you're the dude that," and so it's happening. It's happening for these fighters to push them, and that was really, I know that was what was in your heart when you started Best in Boxing, was really trying to not only innovate and push the sport forward with the idea of streaming, which, by the way, now is like the only reality.
I know, it was.
At first, people were like, "Really?"
No, but this is the crazy thing is, like, see, there's a lot of people who are trying to gear up to do what I'm doing because they see the business. Yeah, and that was the thing is, like, the phones. I mean, there's a lot of fights coming up, and there's a lot of other sports coming up on the whole GS Global Sports Streaming platform itself. Because we are already geared up for it. So there's been days I think I've talked to you at the end of the day, or you've trying to get a hold of me, and I've literally been on the phone all day working on deals with other promoters. I mean, even in other sports. So on the 22nd, I'm taking a Muay Thai promoter from the United States down to Mexico so he can get licensed, or the 21st, so he can get licensed, and then we're going to go location scout, because Muay Thai is another sport where it's clearly not as big as boxing, but there are plenty of Muay Thai fighters who cannot fight. So he's bringing him down. He's bringing his promotional company down to Mexico so that he can put fights on. So it's just. We're geared up for it. We're ready for it. We have the system. We have the pay-per-view system. We have the production capabilities, and then we can. There's a promoter, Carlos Molina, King Carlos Promotions. He has his own. He pays his own production company. Nice. So we're going to take his signal and distribute it. Yeah. I mean, it can be as simple as that for us. But we have the ability, and we have a fan base, and we have a ton of fighters that follow, and so for us. It's again, we're set for it. It was always about the proliferation of boxing to begin with. Now we've got all these other sports and the ABA.
That's what I love about you. It's always really been about the fighters. Yeah. Yes, this is a business. Yes, I would love it if you paid me more. But for you, it has always been about the fighters and the sport of boxing, pushing it forward, being innovative, and really shining the light on those fighters and everybody who is grinding day after day. Doesn't mean I'm not still mad at you for setting up Rosarito on the beach and leaving me here in Las Vegas.
All right, we'll bring you down next time. We'll get you a little booth down there so you can do your little...
Thank you, I appreciate it. I would like a cocktail on that punch drunk. I would like a Mai Tai or something like that. Now, you mentioned Muay Thai. I know you've done some MMA, Best in MMA as well. What else do you have going on for GSS?
Well, the Muay Thai... We're probably going to launch that in November, relaunch it, because we've already done 6 or 7 Muay Thai fights. Right. MMA, I don't want to give away what we're doing in MMA just yet.
Okay.
But it's really cool. It's a way to...
I don't even know.
No, don't. I can't even talk about it yet because it's underway, but we're doing a really cool thing that allows people to
I can tell. I've known this
to
guy
be
for
there.
like 15 years, and I can tell.
So we're going to do
face
something cool. It'll be the
cool
first
it is.
time it's ever been done in MMA, and the promoter that we're working with to put this together. If it's successful and we do it properly, we can actually do MMA with a live gate as well as the pay-per-view.
Is that one on a beach too that I'm left out
No,
of?
that one's not on the beach. This one will be in Tijuana. But there's plenty of fighters. There's plenty of American fighters who can't get fights in the United States because there's not really any fights going on when it comes to MMA except for UFC. But we're going to bring American fighters across the border, and they're going to fight Mexican fighters, and we're going to do it in a really cool venue.
Don't give it all away, man.
And that's about it.
Keep the mystery.
And then the ABA.
Yeah, American Basketball Association.
Yeah, Mexico. So what happened with them, just like with everybody, their inaugural season was stopped or suspended.
Yeah,
they were supposed to launch in May. They didn't, obviously, because they couldn't. And so we're still waiting on the government go ahead to allow us to have crowds, because their business model, with the amount of athletes that they have to have a gate. We're going to do the pay-per-views to help supplement, but they have to have a gate. So
that means people paying for tickets if you don't know.
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah. Live gates.
Yes.
They have to have something. So
just in case there's newcomers.
They're waiting for 50% capacity approval, and we're hoping it's in October. But if it's not in October, what we decided to do is we're going to do a tournament in November, just so everybody gets an introduction to the ABA Mexico. It is an international league. So there's plenty of Americans on it. There's Mexicans on it. There's guys from all over the world on it. Argentinian basketball player, and so I'm really excited because they get to play. They also get to play ABA America.
So these are professional basketball players too. The ABA was popular, I think, in the 60s and 70s. It rivaled the NBA
Well,
back
the
then.
New Jersey Nets, the San Antonio Spurs, those are all part of the old ABA. And when they had the merger between the two, some of the teams went away and others didn't. I mean, Dr. J, who doesn't, if you know basketball, you know Dr. J, right?
Yes,
so
of course.
he was the king of the ABA. So they started back up in 1999, the ABA America.
Right.
And then last year they decided to start ABA Mexico. And I believe there's over 200 ABA teams in the United States. I mean, there's a ridiculous amount of basketball teams. There's a lot. So
I think their goal, at least I know, is to become the largest basketball league in the world. Because I've heard rumors of, I don't know if COVID-19 might squash some of this. Yeah. I hope not.
It'll slow it down possibly, but they're moving forward.
But they're thinking ABA Caribbean.
They want to go
they
Latin
want
America.
ABA South America. Yeah, and so there's going to be all these different leagues.
They want to go to Asia with the ABA. So yeah, I mean, this is part of the expansion. It got tripped up a little bit, but like any good basketball player, they'll keep pushing forward, and they're going to. They have big goals, and we're going to be there right along with them to help them kick off. We're going to be doing pay-per-views, season passes.
We have a game of the week. I know if the games continue like they're supposed to.
So if the league, if we don't get approval from the Mexican government. For capacity, or 50% capacity, we're going to do a tournament when they do allow it.
Yes.
So we will have basketball this year. Yes. It's either going to start in October, or we're going to have a tournament in November/December that will incorporate all the players, all the teams. What we'll do is we'll set up a bubble scenario. If we can't have audiences, we'll do because it's much cheaper to do a week of basketball with all the teams in a bubble scenario than it is stretched out over 2 or 3 months. So that's what we're looking forward to with the ABA.
I actually hosted the draft live, and I had to research, of course, all these players, and they're good players. I mean, they're coming out of Villanova. They're coming out with 14 different records from their college schools, and I researched a lot of them, and it's going to be really, really exciting.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is that with the ABA Mexico particularly, they really want the community involvement. Yeah. Like that was a big part of it. Yeah. So how great is that for Cabo San Lucas and Tecate and some of the places where the teams are going to be stationed, that to have that community involvement.
Yeah, well, they're going to do ABA women's. They're going to do ABA kids so that they can support. I didn't realize, to be honest with you, I didn't realize how popular basketball is in Mexico. It's extremely popular, so there's a ton of kids that play it. So they have plenty of talent to pull from. And it's more popular in the north of Mexico than in the south, but it is very popular. There are a lot of basketball teams down there. They already have their own professional league, so this is an additional professional league for them. And so Roberto, the CEO, Roberto Garcia, the CEO of ABA, his vision is to have the kids developmental league that will play on the same day as the big guys.
Oh, so cool!
So this is a way that they'll do it once it's laid out. They'll do the kids game first. They'll have the same uniforms.
Oh my gosh, how cool is that? Can you imagine if you were a kid?
So they'll have the same uniforms. And then the women will go, and then the men, all in the same. So say it's Tecate and it's all the same city. They'll all play on the same night. So that means you have 3 games for your entry.
Yeah,
it's a really cool system that they're setting up.
Yeah, I like that. And one of the teams is in Cabo San Lucas, so maybe you can take me down there for a live broadcast. Make up for the fact that I'm not in Rosarito on September 19th for the boxing on the beach. So go to Cabo. I think you could make up for that. All right. Anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, that's it. We have a
lot going on.
Yeah, we have a lot going on. It's going to be very exciting into 2020. Most of us just want to get the heck out of this year and move on to 2021 and greener pastures ahead. And so we're hoping for the same thing. I mean, what's going on? It's all about pivoting, right? We had to adjust to the new reality, just like every business does. And so we did. We adjusted, and we have a lot of promoters and sports organizations that want to move with us. So I'm excited for what's ahead. I'm excited for 2021. We're going to. I mean, my goal is to have at least a boxing event every weekend that we're broadcasting, and then game of the week every Sunday for basketball for their basketball season. Throw in Muay Thai, throw in MMA, and there's a couple other sports that I'm working on.
Oh, I saw that look again in his face. I saw it. He gets that little crinkle in his eye when he gets all excited about it. I could tell.
There's a couple other sports we're working on that I've been wanting to do, and so we're working on that. Again, because of this whole COVID thing, there's just opportunities that have popped up, and that's the way I look at it. I look at it as an opportunity. It's a crappy reality that we walked into, but we have to find ways to overcome it, and that's what we're doing.
But again, you set us up for this reality, for this opportunity.
Yeah, no idea it was coming, right?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, whenever you started it. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time. And of course, lots going on. So make sure you are following at GS Streaming, the Global Sports Streaming, on Instagram and Twitter. We're also, of course, at Best in Boxing. I'm Courtney Perna, at Courtney Perna on those 2 sites as well. And of course, September 5th, September 19th, those pay-per-view events on bestinboxing.com. You do not want to miss it. We'll see you next time. And we'll have cocktails, for goodness sake, because it's not called Punch Drunk for nothing. This is just water.
What the heck?
This is water.
We're keeping hydrated in the 114 degree heat.
It's ridiculous. Okay, so